Good day, my friends. I wonder how many of you have ever received an unwanted gift. You know what I mean? The kind of gift that when you open it and you unwrap the paper and open the box, you think to yourself, why in the world did they give me this? I mean, it's such a common experience, actually, for many of us, I believe. And when the person who gives it has given you the gift looks at you and looks for a response, you find yourself grasping for words, trying to figure out what could I say that won't hurt their feelings? What could I say that won't upset them, while trying to gracefully find a way out. So we'll say something like, wow, that's really interesting. I never thought of that. Or you say something like, thank you for thinking of me. That's so special. I appreciate it. Inside, we're still wondering, why in the world did you give me this gift? Perhaps we feel that way about the unwanted gift these days, of the extra time that's due to the coronavirus for many of us. That the things we normally do to fill our days, we can no longer do. We find ourselves trapped at home, except when we have to go to work. And when we're working, in many cases, we find ourselves busier than ever. It seems like feast or famine almost. And we're often struggling with many issues related to the current situation, aren't we? Very much an unwanted gift, if you will, this virus situation. Something that we wish we'd never received, that we'd never had to worry about or think about. You know, one of the things that I wrestle with, and perhaps you do, is wondering whether there's anything to be learned from this situation, if there's anything of value that we could take from what's happening to us. I think it's a real question. I think it's a good question for us to ask. As many of us are experiencing extra burden, extra weight as a result of what's happening, as many of us perhaps are even grieving and struggling with loss or fear of loss, I think trying to find some redemptive value in the situation makes a lot of sense. It's in that context that we come to the book of James, which Jesus' brother wrote. It's a letter that he wrote many, many years ago. And in that book, he takes faith from being something that's an abstract idea, from being something that's intellectual or an exercise in intellectual capacity or ability, and instead tries to connect our faith to the actual way we live our lives, to the practice of faith, rather than just the idea of faith. He says something very interesting in James chapter 1, starting at verse 2. He says, "Count it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." I think James is nuts, if you want the honest truth. When he tells us to count it all joy when we face trials of various kinds, it seems somehow like masochistic to consider what we're currently experiencing as joy. But that's not what he's saying, is it? Look at it in the New Living Translation. It says it a little differently. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy." That's a little different. He says, "For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." I think that's a little easier to understand, but perhaps my favorite rendition of this particular passage is found in Eugene Peterson's version, a paraphrase of the Bible, where he puts it in his own words, and he says it this way: "Consider it a sheer gift, my friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure, your faith, life, is forced into the open and shows its true colors. So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work, so you become mature and well-developed, not deficient in any way." Listen, if we're all honest, we can all afford to grow up a little bit in these days. We've taken for granted that we were cared for. We've taken for granted that we could do what we wanted and have what we needed, especially here in Canada. We've been very, very blessed. And now that we're being asked to make some sacrifices, now that we're being asked to surrender some of our freedoms for the sake of others, many of us are extremely challenged, aren't they? The truth is, some of us are having trouble at home. Perhaps you, like I, are having discussions at times with your spouse. And you know what I mean by discussions. Perhaps you're feeling extra stress in your relationships. Perhaps you're struggling with children at home, or adult children even, with whom you don't see eye to eye. Perhaps you're struggling with the work that you're called to do, or that you've been hired to do, and trying to figure out either how to do it at all, maybe even put off work, or maybe you're feeling like the load is greater than you ever signed up for, and you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed and overtired and just burdened in general. It's a difficult time, isn't it? In the midst of that, for James to say, consider it joy or consider it a gift when you face trials of many kinds, that seems like being a masochist. That seems like something that I don't really want to do. The truth is, in these moments, what we need to see is what he's driving at, is that this is an opportunity where there's something for us to learn. The opportunity is for us to learn to rely on God more, to stop relying on our own abilities, our own strength, our own capacity, our own bank accounts, and instead lean into who God is, into who Jesus Christ is and what he came to do for us at Easter time. That Jesus Christ paid the price for our sins to set us free. Galatians 5 verse 1, one of my favorite verses, I've mentioned it before, says it was for freedom that Christ died to set us free. And to stand firm then, and don't let anything take away our freedom. Standing firm is what James is talking about here. Becoming and being steadfast, learning that you can stand firm on the faith that you have in God, that he is still good, that he's still a good Father, that he loves you, and that he's with you in these difficult and dark and uncertain days. My friends, the joy is not in the trial. The joy is not in the situation or struggle that you're facing. The joy is in knowing that the God who is good can still do what he promised, that he can use all things for good. Not everything is good. Clearly, this virus is not good. The cost is high for many of us, and higher for still others. But God can use this situation for good. He can use it to grow us. He can use us to grow, this situation to grow our faith in him, our trust in him, our reliance in him. He can grow us in our ability to love him with all our heart and mind and soul and strength. He can grow us in our ability to love others, even if that love means sacrificing time with them so that they can stay healthy. My friends, I do think we can call this a good moment. We can learn that in every moment that we lean into Jesus, that we trust him more, our faith becomes more strongly rooted in the one that the Bible calls the solid rock. And when you stand on a solid rock, you know you can stand firm. And that is good news. Have a blessed day.